Hello folks. Okay, so I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but I've put a statutory declaration on the website, which is basically your template for how to create a statutory declaration of your refusal to give consent to any medical interference at all with you, or indeed your offspring, or indeed any other member of your family, to employers, NHS, police, councils, whomever it is giving you grief. You can send this off. Okay. Now, this is how you communicate in the private. So certain protocols have to be followed, or you mix up the private and the public, as it were. So if you open the page or the link that's underneath this video, it'll bring you up to my website, to the story in relation to this statutory declaration. Okay. So once you've done that, you should see a title, Statutory Declaration for Medical Interference for You and Your Offspring. And it has an image of destructive interference. Okay. And there you have the one-page statutory declaration that is a PDF in here. Now, I've not put a Word document up for one reason and one reason only, and that is this. You may read it 3 or 4 times. However, it is my experience that things really do sink into one's mind when one writes it out. Okay? So, I'm saying this is your format, but you need to write this out, okay, on your own, either Word or Pages, whichever system you're using. Now, most importantly, you need to set it in the same style as it is on this paper. It's important. Okay, now we're not going to go in depth into that kind of thing. I'm just going to say to you this. This language is how it is expected if it is to be accepted as a statutory declaration, okay, in the private. Remember that. We've discussed it on the videos, so I'm just going to throw this in. Put you into the deep end if you will, because that's what you're doing. But if you are concerned, this is what you need, okay? So, now, interestingly, you've got to understand that the size A4 is paper is commercial. So if you're using A4, it's commercial. If you want legal, then you're on legal size paper, okay, which is bigger. Now, that might be too complex for some people, but if you have that ability and you understand the concept, I would suggest that you go ahead and create this document on legal size paper. However, it doesn't matter, okay? So let's not compound this issue and make it any more confusing than it may be for anybody coming to this first hand, really. Now, what you're going to need is, you're going to need your paper, you're going to need a blue pen. This has to, you want this written in blue, okay? Your autograph. And if you'll notice, there is a red thumbprint on there, so you're going to need some form of red ink that you can transfer from your thumb to the paper. Now, when I do that, is I bring the paper right to the edge of the table, exactly where it's going, and if you notice, you are halfway on the second name. And you also note, you're only presenting your first, and if you have one, a second name. So if you only have your first name, then you want to be putting that thumbprint halfway over your first name. Now, obviously we filled this in because we need to explain how you do the address, again, to keep it in the private. So what you really need to understand here at this stage is that you have to follow the style of that paperwork when you're creating your own, but more importantly, you have to follow what I'm saying. Absolutely exact. All right, it's important. So what you're going to require is a passport picture of yourself, preferably black and white. No glasses, nothing covering your face so that they can see you. Now, ideally, what you want is that image to be incorporated on the page. Now, you might struggle with this if you're on legal size paper. but other than that, you could put on your passport paper on your and on this that and then photocopy it. It has to be colour because well, do you know what I'm saying? Which would give you then the blank, unautographed and unnotarized piece of paper. But the image would, instead of it being stuck on, it would be a part of the actual paperwork. Now, okay, if that's too complex for you, it doesn't matter. You could stick a black and white image, figure 1, in exactly the same place, and make sure it doesn't come off, and that would suffice, okay? So, ideally, legal size paper, you need to get that image so it's incorporated onto the paper, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you do it on A4, and it doesn't matter if you just stick that on, okay? And if you're doing A4, sticking it on, photocopying it is very simple anyway, is it not? Okay. Now, it'd have to be colour because you want the bottom, which is Statutory Declaration September 2021. That is assuming you're doing this in September. If you're doing this in October, it would be Statutory Declaration October 2021. You get? So on the bottom, you need that, and you need the page 1 of 1 also. That's, again, very important. So you would have to have a coloured photostat of this, even though your image, it preferably wants to be black and white. Okay? So at the top of the page, it's Statutory Declaration, and that's in font 16, I think. So that gives it its separate size. The rest has to remain in the same size. 10 is usually what we use, so I would suggest that, but it's entirely up to you. But obviously, it's going to determine your font size, how well you get that set on that paper. You want to be precise. You want it exactly the same when you finish writing this out on your own processing sheet to look exactly the same, gaps, punctuation, etc. Now, underneath the title Statutory Declaration, we have dated, and we have a hyphen, the 21st day, month of September 2021, so it's written, okay? And now, of course, you're going to have to alter that date accordingly to the date and month that you're going to send this, okay? So that's very important. You understand this concept. You're going to have to fill that underneath Statutory Declaration with the correct date format, but you're going to write it out, not put it in figures, numbers, okay? Then you've got your image, and beneath that is figure 1. It's important you put figure 1 there because you're going to be highlighting it in this next paragraph. Now, 2, hyphen, whomsoever this may concern, okay? So that then puts everybody that sees this on notice, okay? It's addressed to them specifically because they're looking at it. Now, paragraph I, your 2 names, or if you've only got 1 name, just your Christian. We're not dealing with any surname at this stage, okay? Because you're presenting your status at this point, okay? So and we're going to we'll read through as though, but you're understanding, don't you, to put your own name or 2 Christian names in there if you do have to, okay? I, Sarah Jane, semicolon. All right? It's important that you follow to the letter this grammar, colon. So, who is created by the Heavenly Father, comma, born a female on the 17th day of June 1972. Now, of course, you're going to put your born day on there, okay? Not birth date, remember, born day, the day that your flesh and blood arrived on this earth. So you're going to put yours, but you're going to write it again in words, not use numbers, okay? It's very important that you do it this way and put the correct grammar in, okay? Follow it exactly as it is on here. Whose image and likeness is illustrated as figure 1. So, okay, you're explaining why and who and what that image is, okay? And who is associated at arm's length and distinct from the following person, okay? So you're presenting yourself there as man, female, under Heavenly Father, okay? And the day you were born, not the birth date of your certificates. Then you're presenting the distinction between the man, female, or male, and this person, the trust. Okay. Where are we again? Is associated at arm's length and distinct from the following person, and whose person's name may be styled and symbolised as, and not limited to, Sarah Jane Smith. So in that point then you'll put in your two Christian names or your single Christian name, and then you're going to add the surname to which the elite birth certificate mimics, or this is mimicking that rather, okay? So whatever your name is, and then your surname in the uppercase, because in many cases now that's how they address commercial letters to you, okay? With correspondence address at, now this is most important, because when you present your address as you do, that's in the public, it's in commerce, okay? And that, in essence, is another joinder for them, from you to them, because of your house number, your town, okay? These are all traps that they've got, where we're not going to in-depth on that one. We've covered it before. So correspondence address at, and then it's in care of your address. So it should, so High Street. So if you live at 21 High Street, in the public you'd write 21 High Street. In the private, you will write High Street, but your number will be in brackets after the name of the street, okay? And then you're going to put near, and you're going to do that in the, what do they call it? You're not going to put it in the same font as this. I forgot what they call it. Italic. Right, so you're going to put the word near in italic, because again, it's off the page. The number in the bracket is off the page. Do you get what I'm saying to you? But you're also referencing this address as also you living there in the private, okay? It's important stuff, this. This is why I said before, it's a complete shift in how you understand what you're doing, but more importantly, the language you have to use in order you want to keep in that jurisdiction, because you only have to make one mistake here and they will not accept it as a statutory declaration, because it doesn't hit every mark, okay? So near in italic, off the page, and then whatever county or town, or, well, town you're in, okay? So if you're in Lancaster, it's near Lancaster. If you're in Somerset, it's near Somerset, because you don't want to be in Somerset, because if you're then classed as a commercial asset in a commercial region. Do you get that? Now, this coming up at this stage now, which of course is in our main intent, is to help you to prevent these idiots in these schools from just doing what they want with your offspring. But also, going through this video with this, on this piece of paper, is your first lesson from us in order to understand how you form your language in the private as opposed to the public, all right? So this is very important for more than one reason. So it's near whatever your town is, and then the postcode, again, is in brackets. It's off the page. So you would use the same format as it's being encouraged on this page for your own address if you're presenting your address, okay? And it's on the left of the paper, always. Hereinafter, the declarator. So you've identified yourself as man, female, and now you're declaring yourself to be known as the declarator. So that's how you're to be addressed, and that is how you're going to address yourself in the furthering of the correspondence. Instead of keep going me, I, when I, you'll just call yourself the declarator, because you are the one making the declaration. So you are the declarator, okay? So it says hereinafter the declarator or the declarators, because of course further down here you're going to position this document as an umbrella over anybody you demarcate as coming under your house, yeah, your family, right? So it says or the declarators, in brackets, as the context requires. hereby solemnly declares by serving notice to all that, okay? 1, for reasons of faith. Now note there, we're not talking about religious faith, we're talking about your personal faith, be that what it may, and also be it nobody else's business, okay? So we're not talking about religious faith, we're talking about your personal faith that you hold inside of you that doesn't necessarily have to have any religious connotations whatsoever. It's just your personal faith and take on this world, okay? So you're saying for reasons of faith, any preventative, diagnostic and therapeutic medical intervention, in brackets, not limited to a vaccine, are incompatible with the declarator's faith. So you're basically saying, this goes against how I understand this existence and how I'm supposed to deal with it. Okay, so that's basically what you're telling them. Number 2, by virtue of this statutory declaration, any implied assent and or consent is expressly withdrawn without causing the infliction of a disadvantage and or prejudice unto the declarator and or her person. Now, we've used the term her in this letter because it's a female, Sarah Jane, who is the declarator, that's put this together. If it's coming from the father, then you would place his person in that on that line, okay? So I'm just going to run through that again. By virtue of this statutory declaration, any implied assent and or consent is expressly withdrawn without causing the infliction of a disadvantage and or prejudice unto the declarator and or her person, as recognised by and not limited to Article 6 of the Universal Declaration of Bioethics and Human Rights Act, okay? Now, I've put that under this document on the page on the website for you to have a look at, okay? And we've got the link to the 3 pages in relation to that, and also we've downloaded it there as a PDF as well, also. So that's that, okay? So you can peruse that also. Number 3. The provisions of this statutory declaration are hereby extended to every member of the declarator's house, whatever your name is, your surname, okay? And notice you're not putting your surname or last name in uppercase because it's not, okay? 4. This statutory declaration may be cited as Statutory Declaration September 2021. Of course, again, that's providing you're sending this off in September. If you're sending it off in October, then it would be October 2021. You understand? Now, I, Sarah Jane, do solemnly and sincerely declare that I make this solemn declaration conscientiously believing the same to be true, and by virtue of the provisions of an act made and passed in the year of the reign of His present Majesty, entitled and Act, Statutory Declarations Act 1835. Now you might say, well, why is it His Majesty, not hers? Well, I've said it before, there's no queens in kingdoms, and upon discussion with I think Royal Courts of Justice, that is exactly how this is to be presented, his, okay, because it was a him on the time of this Declaration Act. Now, this document, as I've said, is exactly as the Statutory Declarations Act insists it's to be. And also, the difference between witness statements and all this nonsense is you don't want statements. This is a statutory declaration, and it has the effect of you being in court in person. So once you put this in the mix, if there's any further anything about it, that acts on your behalf. You don't have to be there. That is you in person. All right? That is who you are. Yeah? Because, of course, as I've said before, Your relationship to the trust is a settler and beneficiary, leaving only one role left, trustee. Okay, we're not going to delve into that again, but slowly but surely this should start coming together for you so that you do understand this new system that we're putting into place. Now, a statutory declaration is a legal instrument and it's accepted and acknowledged in the Admiralty or their own system. All right, so this is why this is so important. Now, once you've created it and you're happy with it, you've checked it, double checked it, triple checked it, you then go and get it notarized. Now, they should only charge you £5 for notarized. It's actually Commissioner of Oath's fee order in the Act itself says that they can only charge £5. So there you go. Now, once you come away from the notarized paper, you then make copies of that document with your autograph, only your first name and your second name, remember, and then the notary stamp underneath. You photocopy that and you send off the photocopy. You never send off the original one that you get notarized. You get it notarized, then you copy that, photocopy it, you send the photocopies out, okay? So make yourself a few copies in case you have to send it out willy-nilly. So when you do this process right from the get-go and you've had it notarized, then you copy that notarized sheet, put your original one somewhere safe, and maybe make 10 or 15 copies, and that's what you send, okay? It's very important that you understand that you never ever send off the original, okay? When you've had it notarized, it's always a copy, okay? So I'm not going to keep rabbiting on, chaps. I'm just going to say, if it is, if you are concerned about what's going on, this, in my opinion, is by far the most superior method of removing any doubt that may be being played in these schools by these groups that are going in the schools to persuade your offspring to take this shot. Okay, so with that, I will say, till the next time.